Welcome to the Life After 50 show. We're a couple of minutes late this morning due to technical difficulties. That happens a bit, doesn't it? But we're here and we're happy to bring you a really good program today. We're going to be talking about something that so many families deal with and wonder about and don't know what to do. And it's, can mom stay home with dementia? So we're going to be bringing in an expert to talk to you about that in a few minutes. But again, I'd like to welcome you to the Life After 50 show. Every Monday, we have this show right here on Find Houston Senior Care. It also may be hosted in some of your groups that you belong to. Each week, I bring in different experts to speak to you about subjects that matter. And today's show is sponsored by FindHoustonSeniorCare.com. FindHoustonSeniorCare.com is a web directory for the Houston and greater surrounding areas in greater Houston. It has everything from home care to elder law attorneys to assisted living, personal care homes, and over 500 articles, videos, and podcasts are available to help you get the answers that you need when you're trying to figure out what to do about mom, dad, or somebody else that you love and care about. So today I've got Chad Jolley with me, and I'm really excited to talk to him because he has a wealth of knowledge. He's the owner of Synergy HomeCare in North Houston. And Chad Jolley has helped hundreds of families over the past 12 years. His passion to help families and find truly meaningful and dependable home care company developed from his own struggles. Just like a lot of people in this industry, he went through the challenges with his dad back in 2004. After experiencing a stroke and being left bedbound, his father was discharged back home. And it was really a struggle for the whole family. His mother and his sister had to take on extensive care needs, and they struggled to find the right people to help them. They finally found a company, and life began to return somewhat to normal. And the Jolleys experienced what a great home care agency can do. As a result, Chad created Synergy HomeCare. It's a full-service agency located in Houston in 2006 to provide the same life-changing service to other families. And I'll be putting up the website location for you in a little bit. So today we're going to bring in Chad in just a minute here. We're going to talk about dementia. So many people are dealing with this issue. Maybe mom has had a diagnosis, or maybe you're suspecting that maybe dad is having some cognitive problems and issues, and you're not sure what to do. You're not sure whether he should be left alone, whether he could stay in his own home. You're just not sure what to do next. So let's bring in Chad. Chad, come on into the broadcast. And there he is. Okay, Chad, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate you.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to discussing this topic.
Yeah, this is a really important topic. And I would imagine that you probably have a lot of families that call you with this concern, what to do.
We do. We get this at least probably 2-3 times a month. It's an issue that is very high on our list to address and to make sure that we conference with the family and make sure all the issues are handled. Because this is the one thing where really the emotions are high, the issues are true, and they're right there every day. And if we don't address this topic, it can really lead to some bad outcomes. So this is something that we really try to address from day one.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say to somebody who came to you and they told you that they were worried about mom? what would be the first steps?
The first steps, if they're just curious about whether or not, or wondering whether or not their mother has dementia, the first steps we tell them to do is always to consult their primary care physician. There's many cognitive tests that they can schedule an appointment with their doctor, and they can go through cognitive testing. Just really, that's the first step, just to identify whether or not mom or dad might be at risk for Alzheimer's. I mean, we all, as we get older, forget things, but there's a certain level that a doctor can identify, and they can even do medical tests that will certainly identify your loved one as someone who has the beginnings of Alzheimer's or dementia.
Right, right. Sometimes though, Chad, I know with my family, the doctor wasn't really well versed on dementia and how to really properly diagnose that. And our struggles was we saw a lot of things happening. We saw some red flags, but we didn't know what to do about them. And the doctor, unfortunately, wasn't any help, because he would see her for a period of a few minutes and say, well, she sounds just fine to me. My mother-in-law was really good at doing what I call pulling up her big girl pants, and she could trick them so easily. And I know that happens a lot. I'm not the only one that happened to. What kind of signs would be signs that maybe are red flags that maybe it's time to at least bring in some care and another set of eyes to look over and help?
Sure. So the obvious signs are forgetfulness. Obviously, they don't remember what they've done, especially in the last several days. They start to forget things that are important to you and that should be important to them. They start to forget things that are just kind of life issues. And family can really tell this. Like you said, doctors who only see them once in a while may not be able to do that. There's also issues with perhaps they're staying up too late, or maybe they don't go to bed throughout the night. Those are really concerns that should, pique your interest and cause you to really want to investigate it a little further. I know we have a couple clients that they did that, just like you, and they felt like their mom was having the beginnings of Alzheimer's, and it really does take someone to advocate for them. And you really have to be close to your family members. So a lot of the folks, several clients will come home for the holidays. And so it's been a year since they've seen mom or dad. And when they do that, they see these huge changes. And it's really up to them if the doctor's not really paying attention, to start the steps to try to get them a little additional care, especially if they're alone in the home, or if their spouse also needs care. So that's the double whammy when you have maybe a spouse that needs care, but also the mother or dad is having these beginnings of what appears to be Alzheimer's. And those we see a lot, and those are families that really need help, and people that are, the family members are away, states away, miles away, and they can't see mom all the time. They come to us with these concerns, and what we do as a home care agency, we will document these kind of signs. We will ask our employees who are in the home during the time they engage us to start writing down these instances where these risk factors or symptoms occur. And that will at least give them something to bring to the doctor to say, these things happen. We've been trying to determine if she is at risk, and these are the concerns we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is really an important point. So many families are going to be coming home. This is Mother's Day weekend coming up. So a lot of people are going to be coming to visit mom, and some of them are going to be quite surprised if they haven't seen her in a while. I know with my mother-in-law, one of the things that was really shocking for my brother-in-law, who didn't see her as often as we did because he lived further away, was when he came home and he saw how frail she had become, how thin, how she had lost weight. We started noticing that every time I would ask her what she ate, it was always a sandwich. You couldn't really tell me what kind of sandwich it was, but it was a sandwich. That was it. And I began to realize that she either wasn't eating properly or she didn't remember if she had eaten or not.
Right. And another
So
thing that
that's an easy thing to just shut me up. Just say a sandwich.
right. Another thing that will pinpoint it is, say, for example, you have a mom or dad that really likes a clean home, a really straightened home, and you go there and it's disheveled. That's a huge sign for Alzheimer's.
That is. And we noticed that with my mother-in-law too, because she was so particular. She was a decorator, an interior decorator. She always had everything just so. And, part of it was that she physically couldn't do everything again because she had rheumatoid arthritis.
Right.
But part of it was the dementia too. And so that was important. I think it's really important for families to realize that having an extra set of eyes on the situation really, really helps. I know it did with my family.
It does. And it doesn't have to be a home care agency. It can be a neighbor, a good trusted neighbor. It can be a friend. It can be any number of people, but a person that is at risk for dementia really does need someone checking in on them every other day, once, twice a week at least, just to see what their state is.
I think that's important. One of the things too that, technology, I love technology, and I think there's a huge way to use the technology. I've had several families that I've known have gotten iPads for mom or dad, and they've taught them how to use it, and they do video conferences with them. And it's great because now, even though you're 2 or 3 states away, you can see exactly what's going on. One son that I know, he had weekly breakfasts with his mom. Every Wednesday morning, they had breakfast together. He would sit at his table and have breakfast, and she would sit at her table. And she so looked forward to that. And it helped him to really see what was going on. Now, with my mother-in-law, she couldn't quite grasp the computer. We tried so hard. We got different things. It just wasn't working. But we got the home care person to help, to assist.
Yes.
So they would set it up, sometimes right before they left, sometimes while they were still there. And she would sit down and be able to have a conversation with us. And that made a huge difference, both for us, who were several hours away, and for her, because she felt more connected to the family. And I think that's so important.
It is. It's so great. Technology has come so far, and it can really extend the time a person with the beginnings of Alzheimer's can stay in their home. There's so much technology now. You can have small tracking devices. You have the Med Alert that can not only just be hit for emergencies purposes, but also can be a tracking mechanism. You have technology that can tell you when a person gets in and out of a bed. You have all this technology. You can wire your whole home to allow you to know exactly what's going on. When do the lights come on? When does the coffee maker come on? You can see all that. And changes in personality or changes in routine can really pinpoint that something is amiss.
That's amazing. It really is. It's changed so much. And I think it's going to continue to change in that direction. We have a few questions here. Kristen is writing in. She says, what if he or she doesn't want to accept care or help? Boy, that's a biggie. What if they don't want to accept care, Chad? What do you do? Do you tie them and make them do it?
That is a challenge for everyone. So it's not just those that are having the beginnings of Alzheimer's. It's a challenge for a lot of families. And a couple things you can do. You can introduce the person early on. You can introduce them as a friend. Sometimes that works. You can have a rational, sit them down and have the rational conversation with them about, I want to be your daughter, or I want to be your son again. And, in order to do that, I need you to help me. I need you to accept this. So sometimes the rational conversation works. Sometimes bringing in, we've done it we've conversed with the daughter or son, and they'll bring us in. They'll let us have the conversation, but then we all agree that we're going to stew on it for a week, 3 weeks, or a month. Allow mom. Sometimes mom and dad only need to think about it, and they want to make the decision. So they get presented with the idea, and then give them time. And then a lot of times they will make the right decision. It may not be 100% of the care you want them to get, but many times they accept some level of care at that point. So there's various strategies. Ultimately, if you really can't get someone to help them, it may be one of the instances where they may need to be moved to a facility.
Mm-hmm. It is tough. I know it was interesting with my mom when I had the conversation with her. I sat her down and I said, Mom, what did you and Dad have planned? Because my father had already passed away. And I said, what did y'all have any plans for when you got to the point where you couldn't take care of yourself by yourself? And she looked kind of down and she said, well, I guess I'll have to go to a nursing home. And I said, wait, I said, there's a lot of other options. And she was so excited and she popped up and she said, other options? What? And I said, well, there's options to be able to stay in your home. I said, sometimes just bringing in somebody a few days a week. There's a service like that. She didn't even know. So that was amazing to me. I thought everybody knew about this, but my mom didn't. So
it's very routine that happens.
Really know. Yeah. Have that conversation. I think that's the toughest thing is having that conversation, being ready to just have that conversation with them. You might be surprised at how more open they'll be than you really think they're going to be.
You're right. And in the cases where maybe mom or dad has started down the road of dementia, it's a little bit more challenging, maybe because they can't make the true cognitive decision on it. And so in those cases, what we do when we work with clients, we will send in a caregiver, and many times it works out great. The person really loves the caregiver, but there are many cases where maybe it's not the right personality. So anyone you send in, you got to be willing to change it up and mix it up so that you get the right person. And the right person is key for anyone. Sometimes personalities clash, but if you work on who you have in there, it will go a long way to making her happy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Shauna just popped in. She said, I like what Chad said. Give parents time to think about it and let it be their decision. That is really a smart thing to do, because we all want to be in control. We all want to be in control of our lives. And, that's what being independent is. It's not about not accepting help. It's about being able to decide when I'm going to accept help and what I need. So yeah, that's really good. We're getting a lot of people talking about this. Let's see. Oh, Margaret had something. She said, my mother's showing some signs of forgetfulness. When is the right time for home care?
That's a good question. So the home care question really follows along the family situation. So many families decide to care for their loved ones with a family caregiver. Mm-hmm. And for many families, that's a great solution and it works. But other times when the family just can't do it, for example, they're hundreds of miles away. Another example is if family members that live around mom and dad have a full-time job and they have children to take care of. That's hard. That's very hard. So they may be able to help sometimes, but not all the time. And it's also the instance where a person with dementia or the beginnings of dementia starts showing signs of neglecting themselves. Mm-hmm. So the first stage or two of dementia, you may not even know they're in those stages, and they may be able to take care of themselves fine. But as the disease progresses, there will be times where the family has to step back and go, do we have the resources to watch mom appropriately? And if we don't, what are the other solutions? And home care can be one of those solutions. In some cases, you can get a neighbor to help. In other cases, there's other solutions. Like I know we have a client that goes to adult daycare just to allow mom the mental stimulation to get her out of the home, get her involved, and involvement with other people really, I believe, delays the progression of the disease, because it gets those mental synapses firing. It gets them involved in like no other way that they can be involved when they're talking to other people. It really does help.
I agree. That makes a huge difference. My mother lived to be 93. My dad was 91. And they went to exercise. My dad had his first stroke at 63, and it was a major stroke, but he came out of it pretty good. And the doctor put him on an exercise routine. And they went religiously 3 days a week.
Wow.
Until just about the end. The last few years, mother could not. She was bedbound. But they went, and it was not just, we laughed. We said my dad was the social butterfly. He would walk around and talk to everybody. Mother was serious about the working out. But they got both exercise and they got that social connection. Right. And that is so, so important. Now, when Dad passed away, my mother was a very independent woman, and she wanted to do everything herself and all of this. And she got to the point, though, where she couldn't drive, and she gave up the keys willingly. She knew it was time, and she had to. And she had a hard time allowing others to give her rides to exercise. And that's when she really went downhill mentally and physically, because she was not going and getting that social connection that is so, so important. And, it's just, we're social beings. We're meant to connect with each other. That's why I love the technology too, where families can, FaceTime one another and that sort of thing. I think that helps. Anything that you can do, having people checking in so they have human contact. I mean, sitting alone in your house all day without another human contact, that's just not healthy for anybody. I don't care what age you are, and that's what happens a lot, because they just get, like for instance, my mother-in-law had rheumatoid arthritis, and physically it was hard to go anywhere. And so she started self-isolating and staying home, and she was a social being.
And it's so easy to do that, just staying at home. Many daughters and sons come to us, and that's all they really want from us. They just want us to put someone in the home so that mom can talk to someone.
Exactly.
And because they feel that yearning. Mom's calling, wanting the daughter or son to come over or to stop by, and it's really hard on today's families with children. And so, that kind of interaction is so key, because it allows people to vent. It allows them to just interact with in no other way that it can just help your mental health, if nothing else.
Exactly. It is huge. Gosh, Chad, we are running towards the end. What else would you say to families before we go on this important subject? Is there something else you want to know?
Yeah, so I had written down some notes. There are several cases where putting mom in a facility is definitely what you want to do. If there's a neglect or abuse situation, if isolation just can't be solved, a facility may be your best bet. If mom or dad is into the dementia stages where challenging behaviors are evident, like wandering, for example, is a key one, or hallucinations, those kind of things, you may consider a facility. And then another one is caregiver burnout. So if mom or dad is taking care of their spouse and they're to the point of burnout, you really got to realize that you've got to take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, what it may end up happening is that your spouse might go into facility because you turn into a medical situation yourself. Right. And so those are all key. And the burnout is very important. We got to make sure our family caregivers don't get into that situation.
That is huge. Chad, thank you so much for taking the time today to come on the program. We really appreciate it. And I know we'll probably have you back to discuss some other important topics, because there's a lot of things people want to know. If you're watching this show today and there's something you want to ask Chad, or you want to have a certain topic discussed next time, please let us know in the comments below, and we will try to make that happen. I'll make sure that Chad gets the questions that you have so he can answer those as well. Thanks for coming on, Chad. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Catherine.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining the Life After 50 show today. We're happy to be here every Monday to tell you what you need to know in life after 50. Next week, we're going to be bringing on, I'm not sure, we're having a little change up in the guests, so it's going to be a surprise guest. Watch during the week and see who's going to be on the show next week. It'll be somebody well worth listening to, I'm sure. So you have a great day, and remember, life after 50, it's what you don't know. Come on the show and learn. Have a great day.